Meeting, if everyone could please stand, we're going to open up in prayer. Attention prayer. Surely I have turned myself to thee, O Allah, striving to be upright, to him who has originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he in this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. And I ask protection against all of my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me unto the best of morals, for none guides unto the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but thee. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make the true followers of Muhammad successful, as thou did make Abraham and the true followers of Abraham successful, for surely thou art praised and magnified. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as thou did bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham, for surely thou art praised and magnified. Ameen. Please be seated, brothers and sisters. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet my brothers and my sisters on this Sunday morning in the greeting words of peace. We say it in our original tongue, the language of our ancestors. Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone feeling? Brothers and sisters, it is always an absolute honor and a pleasure to be before you on the Sunday morning. So we want to welcome each of you for coming and visiting Mosque Maryam. This is the National Center for the Nation of Islam. And we also thank those who are tuned in to our live webcast on NOI.org. Thank you for taking some time out of your Sunday morning to be with us as well. This morning, brothers and sisters, we want to share with you the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that when applied to your lives, the condition and overall quality of your lives will improve for the better. We have a beautiful lineup that as we expect to hear from our keynote, Minister Ishmael Muhammad, and his topic today is the president who wants to be king. And we guarantee that he's so full that when he get done in just a few short moments, you're going to have such a good understanding and context of world affairs, global affairs, politics, the presidency, biblical prophecy, biblical scripture. So we are excited to hear from Minister Ishmael Muhammad this morning, and he's been doing a beautiful job every Sunday delivering some spiritual food for us to dine on for the rest of the week. But brothers and sisters, this morning, I was reflecting on a scripture in the Holy Quran, Surah 21, verse 18. And it says, "Nay, we cast the truth against falsehood, so that it breaks its head, and lo, it vanishes, and woe to you for what you describe." So in this one verse, we have our MO, our mission as Muslims, that wherever falsehood is, wherever injustice is, wherever disobedience to the will of Allah is, that we hurl truth at it and clear it up so that everybody can see a clear proof of what is right and what is wrong. When we opened up this morning's meeting, we greeted each other in the greeting words of peace. We said, Assalamu alaikum. To some of you all that may have felt a little foreign, a little uncomfortable. You're like, man, they speaking Arabic. Ooh, they calling themselves Muslims. They say they practicing Islam. Well, guess what? It's not something foreign. So let's dispel the falsehood in your head that we are attempting to be Arabs or we're attempting to be Middle Easterns. Well, if we go back in history, we know that prior to 6,000 years ago, the original inhabitants of what is called the Middle East or Arabia were actually black people. And we know that prior to 6,000 years ago, we didn't speak English either. English can only be dated back to about 2,000 years. So what did black original people, what did black brothers and sisters speak prior to our being colonized by the oppressor? And when you do your study of language and linguistics, you'll come to find out that Arabic was one of our original tongues. And that in fact, Islam, or being a Muslim, was a part of who we are. It was the way that we live life, not a religion, not something that we picked up on Sunday, but something that was a part of who we are as a people. So the first falsehood that we want to bust up this morning is, this is your religion. This is your language. This isn't foreign to you. So when you hear those greeting words of peace, Assalamu alaikum, the proper response of wa alaikum salam, or peace be unto you, should just roll off your tongue. Because we're acquainting you with your history that goes back far beyond 6,000 years. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said we go back into the trillions of years and ultimately into the origins of God himself. The second falsehood that we want to clear up is, if we know that our original language is not English and we can go back and find Arabic in our original language, then what is the proper name of God? And when we go back and study, if Arabic was our original tongue, then we shouldn't be using English to identify the proper name of the Supreme Being. And when we go back into Arabic, we'll see that the proper name of God is Allah. And we're not worshiping some different God. That's the falsehood that the enemy wants you to believe. So if you grew up in a Christian household or grew up in a Hebrew Israelite household or some other belief system, you feel like the Muslims are worshiping some separate God that's different from the God that you believe in. No, Allah is only the proper name and the proper language of Arabic, talking about the Supreme Being, the Lord of the worlds. Are we clear on that? And then lastly, we want you to know that unity, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And he said that our unity will solve over 98% of our problems. Did y'all hear that? So that means that we need to find every way to get through these artificial barriers that exist and begin to unite with one another, not just as Muslims, but as black people, original people, period. So if you look on the back page of the Final Call, you will always find what is called the Muslim program. And I just want to read one point real quick that will help open your eyes and remove some of that falsehood so that you can see we are all brothers and sisters of the same blood. In the Muslim program, what the Muslims believe. In point number 2, it says, we believe in the Holy Quran and in the scriptures of all the prophets of God. Did y'all hear that? So we believe in the Holy Quran. You knew that. You was like, oh, that's the book of them Muslims. But then it says we believe in all of the scriptures of all of the prophets of God. So that means that God has a pattern or a way of doing things. Yes, sir, thank you. We like to be right and exact, brothers and sisters. So the full title of Minister Ishmael's lecture this morning will be The President Who Wants to Be King and the Messenger of God. Okay, so that's the entire title. So he's going to deliver that. But I was saying, we know that not only do we believe in the Holy Quran as Muslims, but we believe in all of the scriptures of the prophets of God. So God has a pattern or a way of doing things that whenever a people deviate or go off of his straight path, he always has a remedy. And his remedy is always consistent. And that remedy is he is going to raise a man up from among that people. He's going to give to that man a divine message. That man and that divine message will be sent out to those people, and they will have the choice to either follow and get back on the straight path of God or be disobedient and be destroyed from Allah's ultimate aim and will and purpose. Does that make sense? So as Muslims, we believe in the Holy Quran because we agree that Prophet Muhammad came to civilize the people. He came first to start with the Arabs, but eventually he was universal for the entire world. We believe that Jesus was sent to a specific people, but ultimately his aim was for the entire world. So we don't knock the Bible. We don't knock the other scriptures. We believe in them all because they all were sent from the original author of all scripture, which is Allah himself. So don't allow any of these artificial barriers or anything to be a hindrance to you uniting with your family. And please welcome, as we move along, our next presenter. Please welcome him with a round of applause, Brother Student Minister Tariq Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace and paradise. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. I want to first thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his National Assistant, Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad, for allowing us this wonderful opportunity and privilege to be before you all this morning. And we want to welcome each and every one of you all here at Mosque Maryam and all across the world to the Nation of Islam and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I wanted to share words on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because he gave a monumental address just a few weeks back. And listening to the lecture and just reading over what he said, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is not a lightweight man. So when he speaks, we have to take extra heed to what he's saying because God is going to answer him. Because when you have a servant of God in your midst, you can't take a servant of God in your midst lightly because that servant of God does not speak idle words. So what did the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say a couple Sundays ago? I just want to raise one point that he said. And he said, quote, "Do you think I could talk like this if I didn't have backup?" He said, "I've been telling you to watch the weather." He said, "Do you know why God is using the weather like this. And then he said, I'm going to be very clear. It's about you. And he said, I have to say this, it's about me. He also said, after I leave this rostrum, after I leave this rostrum, I want you to watch the weather because it's going to increase in severity just to help the president humble himself before God. So when he said that, I said, man, I gotta check out the weather. I want to just check out the weather day by day just to see what God is finna do, right? So I was able to track the weather, and I have a weather report I wanted to give everybody this morning, all right? So look, he gave the lecture July 21st. The night of July 21st, check out what happened. They said, these are just headlines I'm about to read. It says, Brooklyn goes dark as heat wave causes power outage. And then the next day they said that heat wave affected people in New Jersey and other parts of New York, and over 300,000 people had power outages. July 22nd, powerful rainfall causes immense flooding throughout New York. July 25th, UK weather heats up as Europe smashes weather. Did you know that Europe broke their hottest temperature ever in history? July 25th, let's go on. July 26th, severe landslides and floods leave 12 dead in Brazil. Now I know all of you all heard about this one. July 27th, grasshoppers invade the Sin City. Now that one got me. I was like, yeah, it's the Sin City. What do you expect? But they were saying with that event, the people in Las Vegas and the people who were watching on Twitter or social media looking at the effect of all of those grasshoppers, it was reminding the people of what they read in the scriptures when Allah God plagued Pharaoh in Egypt with those 10 plagues. So it's more. July 27th, the same day, 2 earthquakes hit in the Philippines. That same day, locusts swarm Yemeni capital. The same day. This all happened July 27th. Allah was really turning up. So I missed this one because it was so much going on July 27th. They said that mayflies hit and invaded Ohio as well. I didn't even know about that. Another believer had shared that, and I said, dang, Allah is turning up this day. But July 28th, the very next day, it says severe lightning storms take 3 lives in Italy. On Friday, the past Friday that just came, August 2nd, a large earthquake hits Chile coast. The same day, a strong earthquake hits west coast of Indonesia. And this very morning, today, a couple hours ago, a 6.2 magnitude earthquake hits Japan. Now, I'm saying all of this to say, can we not bear witness and attest to the man that we have in our midst? All praise is due to Allah. What the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan what Allah just showed us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is that I have a connection with Allah God. But he's also showing us that as I have that same connection, we as a people have that same connection with Allah God too. For the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the reason the weather is happening and the severity of this weather is happening is because of us. It's because of the black man and woman of America. He's saying it's because of me, who is the servant of God in your midst today. But he's showing you the immense value and love that Allah God sees for the black man and woman of America. So we have nothing to fear today. We have nothing to be fretted over the events that are taking place today. We have a God that is present. We have a God in our midst. We have a God who is well able to protect us against all of our enemies. So I just want us to keep that in mind and keep what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. He said that if you're with me, then the two that back me, which is Allah God and his Christ, are with you too. So I want to leave that, and as I leave you with peace of Assalamu Alaikum, and bring up another student in the ministry class, Sister Kenya Muhammad, with a round of applause. Assalamu Alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace and paradise. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu Alaikum. I have to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his assistant minister, Brother Ishmael Muhammad, for allowing me and us this opportunity to share with you all this morning. So I want to start out, brothers and sisters, with a quote by our teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And this quote addresses a problem that all of us face as individuals as well as a community. You know, we all struggle in one way or another and are trying to find methods or ways to solve our problems, right? We're trying to find things to bring us success or happiness or love or whatever it is that we seek. But there is something that I am finding is so undervalued in our lives that if we made a conscious effort to living in this reality, then most of our problems would be solved. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan starts out. A problem exists within the Black community and among Black people throughout the world, which we must solve if we are going to enjoy the blessings of truth, which are freedom, justice, and equality. Anybody want freedom, justice, and equality in their life? Then this quote is for you. He says, that problem is disorganization. He says, we all, I am sure, know or believe that in order to make progress in a peaceful world, much less a hostile environment, we need to be organized. He said, to be organized presupposes the presence of an organizer and an organizing activity. Then he went on to say, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has made us to see and understand that truth is an organizing force of itself. This is why Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. He says, once you know the truth, then you know the value of organizing with and in accord with the truth. Then freedom becomes a reality. He says, the Holy Quran tells us that the heavens and the earth are created in truth. Everything above us, he said, beneath us and around us, even in us, is a product of truth. And if you notice, the heavens is organized. The earth is organized. Our bodies is organized. He said, why? Because inherent in truth is a principle of organization. Now, I don't know about you, but that quote was so deep to me when I heard it because we don't realize the damaging effects of living a life that is not in accord with truth. Living in America, brothers and sisters, and under the influence of this world, we have been under a liar and a deceiver. So we have been taught by them how to lie. We've even been taught organized lies, but that is why freedom has never been a reality for us. We have been taught to practice half-truths or exaggerations, which are lies, by the way. This is why our lives are in chaos. And I just want us to think about ourselves and our actions, brothers and sisters. We lie to ourselves. We lie about our condition, whether it's, oh, I'm not sick, I don't need to go to the doctor, and we haven't been in 5 years. Or, oh, I'm not broke, I don't have to pay those people back. That was a long time ago. You're broke, you have to pay people back. But we lie to ourselves about our reality, and that is why it's hard for us to organize to do better because we're not living in reality. Does that make sense? All praise is due to Allah. Many of us think that we can lie and steal and cheat our way into happiness or success, but we will fail every single time because everything is created in truth. And until we line ourselves up with the truth, speak the truth, and then work to organize ourselves based on that truth, then we will always be disappointed. But as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, to be organized presupposes the presence of an organizer. So, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came and taught us that the Black man was God, that was absolutely revolutionary. Because such a powerful truth expanded our minds to think way bigger than the lies that our enemy taught us. When he, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, taught us sisters that we are the second selves of God, that was revolutionary. And that truth, brothers and sisters, consequently allows us to organize our actions in accord with our divine nature as beings who hold the secret of God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us what? Actual facts. And in him giving us actual facts, it began to realign our brain cells. Now, somebody in here thought that that was a figurative statement or that was a figure of speech. I literally mean realign our brain cells. When we feed on falsehood, it has a damaging effect on the cells of our brain. But one was raised from among us by the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he gave us Islam, which is truth. And in him giving us that truth, over time, as we study it and as we apply it to our lives, it reverses the physical damage to our brain cells. All praise is due to Allah. So feeding on those actual facts, brothers and sisters, it gives us the ability and the courage to go out and conquer not only the world, but conquer ourselves, conquer our actions, and conquer all of our problems. And this is why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, brothers and sisters, is the best example among us, because he heard the truth coming from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He believed it, and then he applied it to his life, giving him the ability to organize his own actions, produce freedom, justice, and equality in his own fear. And then, with the guidance of Allah, he is producing organization for an entire nation of people standing on the power of truth and truth alone. All praise is due to Allah. And now, he and those that are following his lead are at the cornerstone of a kingdom based in freedom, justice, and equality. This is why he can speak the way that he speaks. This is why he can do the things that he do. In such a hellish world, he is successful. He doesn't care about trending topics, brothers and sisters. He doesn't care to change his opinion depending on who he's in front of, right? He sticks to truth because he knows that there is nothing more powerful than truth. So his enemies can come with whatever weapons they have, as powerful as they are, but there is nothing more powerful than the truth that you bear that has the power to knock out the brains of falsehood. So all praise is due to Allah. And inshallah, what Student Minister Ishmael will share with us today will get us more in line with living a life of truth. Thank you all for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, we are at that time. Our keynote speaker, our minister here at Mosque Mariam, Minister Ishmael Muhammad, is full and he's ready to come before you. Again, his title is The President Who Wants to Be King and the Messenger of God. And what I love about Minister Ishmael is when I have the privilege and honor of sitting with him sometimes, a good teacher takes a very basic sounding principle, and once they explode it and make it just manifest right before your eyes, your understanding and depth just increases to deep levels that you never even fathom. So Minister Ishmael Muhammad, he has what appears to be a basic title, and of course he's feeding from his teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but if you just tune in and give him your attention, the confusion that we see in 2019 when we're looking at social media, we're looking at CNN, MSNBC. There's so much, even the hashtag fake news is popular, right? There's so much confusion that if you just listen very keenly and astutely and begin to write notes and go back and study what he says today, I guarantee you everything in this world would just make so much sense. Without further delay, brothers and sisters, please welcome our keynote presenter this morning, Student Minister, the National Assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness to the oneness of God, the oneness of His creation, the oneness of His prophetic community. We thank the wonderful originator and creator of the heavens and the earth for the gift of life. We thank him for the guidance and instructions that he has given us through the mouths of his prophets and messengers on how to live this life, fulfill its purpose. We thank him for Noah and Abraham. We thank him for Moses. We thank him for Jesus. We thank him for Muhammad ibn Abdullah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and all of Allah, God's noble and honorable servants. I thank him for his intervention in our affairs, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who came among us, made himself known to black people after coming in and out of America for 20 years. And he chose the 4th of July in the year 1930 to make himself known. In the 3.5 years that he was among us, he raised one from black people. He taught him supreme wisdom, supreme knowledge. He gave him supreme understanding. He gave him the knowledge of self. He imparted to him the mind of God and made him his messenger Messiah. The man that I speak of is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We could never thank Allah enough for his personal intervention and for giving to us that great black man, that great preacher of freedom, justice, and equality, for the life of righteousness that he lived and taught us how to live, that we would not be full of anxiety or suffer grief, but that we would be in harmony again with God and his will. I'm blessed to come from his loins, to come from the loins of such a great man is a great blessing indeed. But when you're born of blood, that's one thing. But to be born of blood and to adopt the mind, spirit, heart, and be committed to that Father's work, that's another thing. And then to know who the man is that gave you life. I grew up as a young boy knowing him as everyone else, as the messenger of God. I never referred to him as daddy, papa, papito, father, always as the messenger of God, dear holy apostle. That was enough for us to understand and to accept what God had done for us. That's big, because we had never before received of God's favor in the way of a prophet or a messenger. But to us was given that which was given to those before us. But it was not until the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stood to rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that I and you and we have come to know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad beyond that title, messenger. He was indeed a messenger in that he was delivering to us the message from the Lord. But he was more than a messenger. He was not a prophet. because the last one comes at the end of the prophets. The last one represents the presence of God. Before the last one, the prophets are representing God in his absence. But when the Messiah is on scene, he represents the reality of God, the presence of God. It was not until the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan restored his name among us, restored his good work among us, and then took us further into understanding the man that God himself raised from black people, that we came to see him, not just as a messenger to the children of Israel, but as that long-awaited and promised Messiah that is mentioned in all of the major religions. I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for without him, I would not be where I am today. I can say that now after being here a few decades. I would not be where I am today. There would be no nation of Islam. There would not even be the mention of Elijah Muhammad's name if it were not for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah. The enemy wanted and planned to write Elijah Muhammad right out of history. That was their aim. It's too late now. It's too late. Elijah Muhammad has already been reproduced in countless thousands and tens of thousands of people all over the world. Different nationalities, different ethnicities. People are on the internet and they are learning about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught. I went to, what do they call it? A farmer's market yesterday where our bean pies are sold. That great bean pie. I think it was 61st and Dorchester. And across from where the pies were being sold is a beautiful Mexican family that set up, Brother Abel, and sell, of course, the tacos. And I went over to meet the brother. His name is Gilberto. And he expressed his admiration for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and how he and his family listened to the minister. 2 weeks ago when the minister spoke, we have our brother who lives in Mexico, Rafael, and he lived up here for many, many years, and he returned to live back in Mexico and lives in the city of Guanajuato. And then the family of our student minister from College Park, Georgia, Mosque number 15B, Brother Stanley Muhammad, his family is there. And they're visiting the city of Guadalajara, and his wife is one of those that are trying to get their immigration status taken care of. She's been in the United States for many, many years and has been married to our brother for 30 years with children. And she came to the United States when she was 7 years of age. But you know, all of this DACA and this immigration. In any case, we pray that Allah will bless her to come back to the United States, because she cannot return until she has the proper documentation. But it was a blessing as well for her, because she had not seen her family for 40 years in Guadalajara. But while they were there, and Brother Raphael, who lives about 3 hours from Guadalajara, it's in the newspaper, he came over and they invited the members of their family, cousins, and their friends, and over 20 people watched the webcast live of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And brother translated everything, and the people stood up. They all accepted. They loved what they heard, and they wanted to become a part of their nation of Islam. The word has gone far and wide. And this the enemy knows. That's why he banned the minister from Facebook. But you can't ban the word. You cannot ban the word of God. We say with strength, we are Farrakhan. We are Farrakhan. We will continue to spread the message of truth to the ends of the earth, because this is our time. So I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's an extension, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, dear family, and all of those who are listening and watching, of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Brother Farrakhan is not just some black leader, some black teacher. I mean, he's black, he's a teacher, he's a leader, but he's divine. He's divine. And representing the divine plan and mission of God from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad makes him an extension of Allah and the Messiah to us all. So he's a divine reminder, because every time you hear him, he's reminding you of what Moses said, what Abraham said, what Jesus said, what Muhammad said, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said and taught. And a reminder in the Quran, Allah tells us, is a mercy from God. So he's a divine reminder. He's a divine warner. He comes in the line of all of the prophets and messengers of God who warn the wicked. He's a divine teacher. You don't have a better teacher. And he teaches us of God, from God, and everything that you read of the minister's words or hear live, you are always hearing God. He's totally divested of himself, not proud. That's not a vain man. He's a humble man. And you hear the love of God for you personally. As my brother would say, as an individual. And you hear the love of God as a collective for our people, the Aboriginal people, the native people of our planet. So I thank Allah for that great, great, wonderful human being that God has given to us in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. How you feel? I hope you feel even better. Thank you to all of the students in the ministry class who shared words on our program today. We'll get right into our subject matter. Our beloved minister has warned us from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we are living in the last days of the present world. We're living in the last days of Western hegemony. We're living in the last days of neo-colonialism. We're living in the last days of white supremacy. They are struggling to survive. That's why you hear so much desperation from them. They realize that they are already an expired species. You didn't catch that. They are an expired species. And their death rate now exceeds their birth rate. And it is said that when a culture's birth rate is only 1.6 or 7, then there's no way to reverse that culture. So all over Europe, the average birth rate is 1.6, 1.7, maybe a couple of exceptions at 2.2. So war would only further decimate their dwindling population. And with all of the toxins and the poisons that is in the air, in the water, in the foods, so now they have trouble producing babies. And the effect of their poison and their plan for decades, they have tried to interfere with our ability to reproduce ourselves. The plan of Pharaoh in the Bible was to curtail the multiplication of the children of Israel. Come, let us deal wisely with them. So when an enemy is to deal wisely with a people, he's developing means by which he can eliminate and exterminate the people without the people being aware that they're being exterminated. Did you hear what I said? So the plan of Pharaoh was to interfere with their ability to reproduce themselves. But what they have sown, they now are reaping. And as thou hast done, so shall it be done unto you. So even though they have poisoned the water, and they have poisoned the food, And my brother bearing witness strong, our student minister, Wesley Muhammad, a great researcher, doctor, scholar. We thank Allah for you, brother, because he immediately went out and did the research after hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his Time and What Must Be Done lecture series tell us about how the enemy was poisoning the foods and the waters. And this whole trend of homosexuality is not by accident, but by design. You need to get his writings and his books, and how the enemy has weaponized marijuana. He's weaponized the foods and the low testosterone levels that the minister has been talking about for years, because their plan is to depopulate the planet, cull the population of the planet by 2 to 3 billion people. This is not theory. We're not paranoid. You will never have to worry about coming to a Muhammad mosque and not hear facts. We don't speak theory. We don't offer conjectures. We deliver truth. And we are duty bound in obligation to back up what we say. Ain't no fake news here. Every time you get the Final Call newspaper, you get real news. So I went over to Dr. Wesley. Let me get back. It's all a part of the subject. Because the enemy is working to destroy us. And the minister is interfering with their plans. Yes, he is. That's why he is so hated by them. Because he's interfering with their plan, but it's the interference of God with their plan. And God intends to expose them, and he intends to destroy them, leaving them neither root nor branch. So you're looking at white people who fear their future. So they are in a desperation mode. So you see the fertility pills, and their womb cannot bear children. It's affecting us now. But we seem to still have enough levels, Brother Wesley, of testosterone to keep the sperm count at the very minimum to reproduce ourselves before we check out of here in our own foolishness. Baby mamas everywhere. Anyway, we have entered into a very dark and dangerous hour that will only intensify. We saw another mass shooting yesterday in a Walmart in El Paso, Texas. And overnight, another shooting in Dayton, Ohio. 29 people shot dead in 13 hours. El Paso claimed to be the safest city in America. And that peace in one event was disturbed. This white man, 21 years of age, drove 22, 21, 22. Point of it is, it was a young white man. It was a young white man that went into our church in Charleston and killed our brothers and sisters. These are young white boys committing these crimes. They have been radicalized. And these extremism is manifesting itself. The sins of the father are visited upon the children, even to the third and fourth generation that hate me. As their fathers have planned evil and have killed the innocent all over the world. I want you to look at this law of justice that the minister said when he was touring the country promoting the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, justice or else. And he reminded America and us that we're in the time of God's justice. So whatever you send forth, it ain't gonna take no long time to come back into your lap. So you and I better be very careful of what we think and what we do, because you're in an hour now that you'll reap in a short time what you have sown today, because you're in the time of justice. And whatsoever a man soweth, the same shall he also reap. And as thou hast done, that just doesn't apply to the wicked. It applies to the so-called righteous. As thou hast done, so shall it be done unto you. So all of us have to escape the retribution of the God of justice. You can't even play with your thoughts today, because you think they're unseen. So is the electromagnetic waves that transmit sound and video that you pick up on your device. It's not unseen. It's out in the atmosphere. So now the sins of the fathers are being visited upon the children. They have done evil all around the world. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, before he left, warned America and warned us that what you see from afar will soon be at your doorstep. So the killing of innocent people all over the earth by a wicked government, now out of their own loins, they're producing murderers and killers. No, this is a very serious time. That white man drove over 600 miles from his suburban home in Dallas all the way to El Paso. The authorities are calling it a hate crime. And in the 4-page manifesto, the document that the shooter posted, the writing is filled with white nationalist language and racist hatred towards immigrants and first-generation Americans for allegedly, supposedly taking their jobs. But this is the rhetoric of a president who wants to be king. He has energized that base. See, God manifested for us what the real thinking is of those that you want to be your friend. Let's just keep it real. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, being a warner among us and telling us of things to come, he told us that they were going to take the mask of civility off. Did he not say it? Did he not tell us? And there would be the peeling back of the onion. See, all of this sentiment has been hiding, it's been concealed. So Trump got into office by the vote of that extremist element that is at its core white supremacy. So he fed into that sentiment so that he could have a base to put him in office and do all the things that he is doing that silences Congress and politicians who don't want to lose their seat in local districts. I want you to follow this. But the minister warned us of what we are seeing. He told us from the scriptures that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad lifted up, that because of the murmuring of the children of Israel against God sent fiery serpents to bite the people of God for their murmuring against the messenger of God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said those fiery serpents represent hatred. Hatred of white folks for you, that we are so foolish to want to take them as a friend. We are so foolish to look at them as our brother, and they are our natural enemy on the planet. All praise is due to Allah. And what you're hearing is not some angry black man. Does not a cat have a natural enemy? Does a mouse have a natural enemy? Does the bird have a natural enemy? Then why would you think that if everything in the animal kingdom, in the insect world, and the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea have natural enemies, and you are a creature among creatures, then who is your natural enemy that Elijah Muhammad was raised by God to acquaint you with, so that you would not make the mistake and take an enemy for a friend and suffer from an autoimmune deficiency disorder? The cells are fighting itself because it does not recognize the enemy. The body can fight cancer if the cells could recognize that wolf that comes in sheep's clothing. Y'all all right? I better hurry up. We are living in a dangerous hour. And all of these mass shootings, before yesterday, shooting in El Paso and overnight in Dayton. We remember Virginia Beach shooting, where a gunman killed 12 people and injured 4 at a city public works building. And then the Gilroy Garlic Festival in California, where 16 people were shot, 4 killed. 50 people have been killed just in the month of July alone from mass shootings. And year to date, the number is 281 dead in mass shootings and over 1,000 injured. The society and world that we live in is breaking apart. It's imploding. America the beautiful has become America the ugly. The stress in the society is so great. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said to us that there are 15 pounds of atmospheric pressure for every square inch of the human body. But we do not feel this pressure because through the process of breathing, we are able to exert force from within us that is equal to the force outside of us. Mentally, however, the minister said, the burden of rebellion, the burden of sin has rendered people incapable of exerting sufficient force from within to neutralize the stress and tension from without. And this is why the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are vital to mental and physical health and well-being. It is written that he came to give us life, life in abundance. And every time we deviate, every time we rebel, every time we do other than what we know is right and pleasing to God, we are building enormous stress that manifests in hypertension and diabetes, and we're stroking and having heart attacks. It's not just not eating the proper foods, but it's not eating the proper thoughts. So brother student minister Shaheed would ask, how you feel? Fine, sir. How you thinking? Thinking. See, it's thoughts. So there's so much rebellion of thoughts in our head. So the God says, my ways are not your ways. Neither are my thoughts your thoughts. Mine are from above while yours are from beneath. Well, if the thoughts are from beneath, and we are told that we would go to hell if we did wrong, if we were wicked, and the devil or Satan is the ruler of the what? Underworld. What's the underworld on your body? Everything that is beneath the head are the appetites of the flesh. So the enemy keeps feeding on your carnal, fleshly, material desires to keep you in his control. Thank you, brother. Am I right? Eat. Eat what you want, when you want, all the time. Sex, oh boy, it's natural. But the enemy makes mischief with nature's law and the purpose for sex. God never intended for you to have sex and sex and sex and more sex just for pleasure gratification. Just think about it. I mean, we make this a priority in a relationship. I mean, do you want a wife or a freak? Excuse me. Then the enemy, he plays out so many things. You know, you want to freak it up in the night. What is that? No, I won't go too far. Y'all get the picture. But everything is the gratification of the flesh because we're under the rule of a carnal-minded people. So if we don't equal the pressure on the inside as the experiment of a tin can, of which 14.7 cubic feet of atmosphere, if there isn't equal pressure on the inside, then the tin can collapses. The question is, what are we feeding on? How are we equaling the pressure on the inside if physically we can withstand the 15 pounds of atmospheric pressure on every square inch of the body? Ooh, by breathing? Then what are you inhaling of God's Spirit to counter the satanic spirit of the world? Listen, this is real talk. That's why the God breathes into you. When the minister speaks, he's breathing into you so that your lungs can open up, your mind can open up and expand and get some oxygen. Because the toxic world of the enemy is carbon monoxide. Become a poison. Y'all all right? You notice in all of America's cities, you see skyscrapers bringing up modern, new, and beautiful buildings. Chicago is looking real beautiful. So is Philadelphia. So are all of the major cities. They're building new bridges and roads. All of this in a bankrupt economy. And go figure. $23 trillion in debt. And the Senate just approved a budget for the next 2 years. So it's going to take it another $26 trillion in debt. They are so deep in the hole, they can never come out of the debt. So America has to maintain a face of prosperity as she's dying. So she looks good and attractive on the outside, but on the inside, she's rotting. She's decaying at a very fast rate. So all this beauty on the outside, see, the ugliness of what is in her inner cities, the ugliness that's in the people, is manifesting in mass shootings. Y'all all right? What you and I are looking at and experiencing is the decomposition of a nation and a people who were given by God a certain time to rule. So the Holy Quran tells us that every nation has a term. It's fixed. And when their time is up, You cannot delay it or extend it. So this world's order has expired. That's why it stinks in the nose of the righteous, and certainly in the nostrils of God. You know, morticians can do a great job in beautifying the dead. They put heavy makeup on. You know, they dress that body up real nice, pack that makeup on real nice. They'll even put a smile on the face. But no matter what you do, that person is dead and will soon be buried in the earth, never to return among the living again. So people today are having their loved ones cremated over traditional burials due to the high costs to funeralize the dead. But in Islam, cremation is forbidden because fire is reserved for the wicked. The scripture tells us how the devil and the wicked will be burned and consumed in a lake of fire. When fire touches a thing, it destroys it. It breaks it down. It breaks the form completely. And when fire touches a thing long enough and burns it, it leaves nothing behind but ashes to be tossed in the wind. We are not created from fire. We're created from dust or earth or clay. And that's why we say in our final words, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. From the earth this body came, to the earth it returns. Iblis in the Quran was made from the fiery nature or temperament of the human being. Y'all all right? But the man that God makes and fashions into shape, he's out of black mud. Y'all all right? So I understand, and God also understands, so I don't want you to feel bad. If that's what you had to do for your loved one, because you had no other choice. The cost to bury the dead is increasingly going higher and higher. But we should try our best to not cremate our loved ones. This is a beautiful country, but the minister has said that the human beings within it are being turned into something that God himself is angry at and sick of. To make God angry is to incur his wrath. John the Revelator in the Bible said, "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come. It is the time of the dead that they should be judged and given justice." Now, I know we just talked about the dead, so this is not talking about the physical dead that have expired and are buried back in the earth. That's the teachings of the deceiver on our planet, to make you think that there is life and a heaven after you die, and nobody has come back from the grave to tell you anything about any life, any place beyond this existence. Is that true? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Even those that went away, they didn't come back, did they? You could believe it if one went away and been gone for a very long time and came back and said, "Hey, it's real nice where I am. I'm preparing a place for you that where I am, you may be also. But no human being has ever come back from the grave to tell the living. So give up that thinking. Heaven and hell are two conditions of life. That's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us. And they're both right here on this plane of existence. And it's based upon the decisions and choices you make for your life. Choose the wrong man, you got hell. Choose the wrong woman, you got hell. Choose the right man, oh, you got heaven. Choose the right woman, you got heaven on earth while you live. Everywhere you look, people are angry. Some of us came in here angry. I seen you mean mugging me. Not that I did anything, you just, some of us, and it's hard. Wake up, your spirit is heavy. You went to bed with a thought that was heavy. You wake up heavy, the whole body feels the weight of the thought that is in the brain. Am I right? So we struggling because we're weighed down by stressful thoughts. But why worry? Because by worrying, can you really make a difference? So we drive in our cars. People are just crazy. I mean, it's like we're just waiting for an excuse to just release rage and anger. So we got all of this, what do they call it? Road rage. I mean, someone could just innocently, turn the car a certain way and that's it. What the motherfucker? Like, wow. And you have to keep your cool as the righteous so that you can live to see another day. Because the fool that blows up doesn't have real purpose for living. Did you hear what I said? Doesn't matter whether they get home or not. But when you have lived a purposeful life, you have to ignore the ignorance that's out here. Did you hear what because you ain't gonna prove nothing. Well, I stood up. I wasn't gonna let nobody say, stop. Prove yourself to a fool. I'm a man. I'm a woman. Not gonna let nobody talk. Over what? You gonna risk your life over some foolish argument and dispute and deprive your children of a mother, deprive your children of a father, deprive your home? Not wise. So the Quran tells us and instructs us. Say to the ignorant, peace. And walk by, peace, peace. Because you cannot reason with an irrational mind. Did you hear what I said? Just leave it alone. So basically, there's just no peace anywhere. We're fighting in the home. arguments breaking out, poor children. They try to find some place to not hear the arguments of their parents. No peace in the schools, and the schools and workplaces have become battlegrounds. So not only, the minister said, are the nations angry, but God is angry. And he's angry at what he's looking at. Debauchery and filth paraded as morality. And if you speak against it, you're considered something ugly. So if a pastor speaks against homosexuality, he's called homophobic. If he speaks against lesbianism, he's not up to speed. He's living in old times. They beat all over Dr. Wesley because he's exposing the root of this homosexual behavior. So he's not wanted, and they protest him when he speaks in cities. Can't you see this is Sodom and Gomorrah? Can't you see that what Jesus said is coming to pass as it was in the days of Lot, the days of Noah, the days of Sodom and Gomorrah? So shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. Sodom and Gomorrah were two small cities in a remote place on our planet. I don't have the square mileage of those cities, but small, population small. But now, Sodom and Gomorrah, that was limited back then to two cities in a fairly remote place on our planet, has now become all the cities in America and the world over. And you don't even know why you have this tendency. See, it's called sexual orientation. That's letting you know it's not by nature's law. Somebody has reorientated your thinking against the nature that God gave you when you were in the womb of your mother. Well, I can't help the feelings. I understand. That's because the enemy has interfered with your food supply. Why does he fear now? Since he's a big man. These are the lessons. Because the devil taught him to eat the wrong foods. Why does he think he's a woman now since he's a big man? Because the devil taught him how to eat the wrong foods. Oh, it's all in the food supply. It's what you feed your mind and feed your stomach. Y'all all right? Please don't get upset with me. I come in the love and the spirit of the minister. I cannot condemn you if you are in that activity. I can't do that. You my brother. We have this type of behavior in our families. Doesn't make me love my cousin or my nephew or my niece less. And when you understand the circumstances and the environment and the science behind what has been produced, then it removes emotions, it removes the spirit of condemnation and judgment, and you bring to your loved one, bring to the circumstance understanding. Y'all all right? In America, We have millions today who are homeless. We have many more millions who are sick, in prison, impoverished, and weak. And appears as though the conservative element of the country is moving away from care for the poor, the weak, the helpless, and the children, and catering to the desires of those that have. Do you know the disparity of the rich and the poor? I have research information. I haven't prepared it enough to present it, but the gap is so wide now. And even with here in Illinois raising the minimum wage to $13 an hour, that's still a living wage that is below poverty. They create the circumstances out of which you make the human being desperate. Desperate. So robberies on the increase because there's no jobs out here. And even what you make is not sufficient. So every one of us are under economic and financial stress. Then the little that you make, you spend it on something that would give you some temporary relief, comfort, pleasure. So you don't have nothing, so you say, oh, what the hell, I'll get a fifth. Oh, what the hell, I'll get a dime. Oh, what the hell. See? And the enemy just creates these vicious cycles of self-destruction. Y'all all right? So the rich are so filthy, stupid rich. No. It's just shameful. And the poor are getting poorer and poorer. I'm going to give you a picture from the Bible in just a minute on what we are looking at. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said that America has turned its back on the weak and blaming the condition of the country on the poor, on the black, and the Hispanic. And in reality, the mismanagement of the wealth and the people of this country is the fault of those who are at the top, who have held power and who have manipulated the masses of the people against the good of America and the good of the world. A nation is no greater than its service to the weak and the poor and the disadvantaged of that nation. And if we believe in the scriptures, particularly in the Bible, in the New Testament, Jesus lays out a yardstick that will be the determining criterion of the judgment of God of a nation in the last days. Certainly in a country that professes to be Christian, based on the Judeo-Christian ethic, this criterion should be held high as the measuring stick to help us to see how far off the country is and what danger the country is in by measuring its distance from the criterion. What is the criterion laid down by the Master himself? And who will be judging? So one of the disciples of Jesus, when he gave them the criterion that they should minister unto the sick, the imprisoned, and those out of doors. When were you sick and in prison? And we ministered not unto you. This is the disciple to Jesus. When were you homeless and out of doors, and we gave you not shelter? When were you naked, and we gave you not clothes to wear? When were you thirsty, and we gave you not to drink? When were you hungry, and we fed you not? But the Master Jesus replied to that disciple, insomuch as you have not done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you have not done it also unto me. That's the yardstick of God for every nation, including the nation of Islam. Y'all all right? I'm trying to go fast. I can't. What is America coming to? The cities are filled with crime and violence. People can't walk the streets in safety. The elderly of the nation are preyed upon by wicked. Our elderly are put in these homes and they are abused, taken advantage of. The stress of life in America is such that some parents can't handle the crying of children. So babies are coming to hospitals, dying of trauma, their heads bashed, babies thrown against the wall, thrown out of the windows, put in trash cans. This is the insanity of a nation that is breaking apart and imploding. You don't have a better place to seek refuge in than the ark that God has built for you in the nation of Islam. I know. It's what is said of Noah's ark. It was built with planks, nails. It wasn't as attractive as the Titanic. But the Titanic sunk. The Quran says, and we made the ark to float on. See? So in spite of everything sinking all around, yes, it's maybe a crude looking thing. Maybe some of the, what do they call the staff on a ship? The crew. They just got the knowledge of self yesterday. They're learning to love themselves. They may not treat you as nice with a deceptive smile like the other folks. But they're your people and they're your kind. See, you can't judge things and make comparisons on the appearance of a thing. See, when you want to save yourself, you out on the water, that plank will do just fine if it can hold me up. See, you take anything that you can put your life on to save yourself. We're not perfect in here, but we're in a process to be made perfect by the perfect one. And I'd rather be among men and women that are in a process of self-improvement than to be among people who are not involved in any process at all to become better people. Does that make sense? No, we got many things to improve on. But boy, I like my FOI. I love being a part of the FOI of the Nation of Islam. I love to be among men and brothers that are trying to improve themselves and to be a better father and a better husband. I love to be in the MGT class. I mean, if I was a sister, I love to be in that class where women are developing themselves according to the way of God. That's a wonderful thing. So, My dear brothers and sisters, the minister has warned us by the grace of God in the past that trouble would not come from us, but America's trouble would come from her own dissatisfied white people of this nation who are fed up with the government and the government's misrepresentation of the Constitution and what the founding fathers of this nation set in motion. The minister said, quote, that terrorism is an act of desperation of men and women who refuse to believe that any avenue for the redress of their grievance will be listened to. Consequently, they feel that they must take the matter of justice into their own hands. And when a people are deprived of justice, their minds become imbalanced. And that's why justice is represented by a female holding a scale with a blindfold over her eyes. That she is not to see who you are, your station in life, what your color, culture, or national origin is, how much money you have or don't have, how much education you have or don't have. Justice should be blind to adjust the scale, the weight of facts in one hand and the weight of action in accord with facts on the other, giving balance. And that's why in the book of Revelation, after you see the destruction of a pale horse and its rider was death, in order to bring balance back to the imbalance created by the pale horse and his system of social, political, and economic injustice, a black horse sallied forth, and its rider was a man with scales in his hand. Justice comes after injustice. It's time for the black horse and its rider to bring balance back to our planet. So when we live in a world whose very root is unjust, it is only a matter of time before the injustice carried on by those in high places reaches down to infants. And the scale becomes so imbalanced, the minister said, that the people lose the ability to see correctly, hear correctly, perceive correctly. That imbalance is referred to as insanity. And let me tell you what a thin line you and I are walking on. Because we already are in balance by the deprivation of justice, by the enemy. And that's why when we suffer further injustices by the people we put our trust in, the people we admire, the people we respect, we lose it altogether. Because as a people, we already are insane by definition. I didn't come here to hurt your feelings or offend you. But we have been deprived justice. And that's why you can run into your brother or sister at Walgreens or anywhere, and you see the belligerent, hostile attitude of your brother and sister because of the stress, because of the great dissatisfaction, because of the great injustice that that human being has suffered in the home. See, look, this thing is so big. You got a world that did us in. Then we have family that did us in. So all of us are broken, broken-hearted, broken spirits, broken mind. And that's why God has to give one upon whom he anoints with his spirit to mend the brokenhearted, to comfort those that mourn. To preach glad tidings to the poor, to declare the day of the Lord's vengeance, in order to redeem a people who have been so thoroughly destroyed. There has to be a love so great that Paul describes that love as a love that is kind, a love that is patient, a love that does not envy, a love that is not easily angered, a love that is not proud, a love that endures much and is long suffering. I found that love. I found that love. I have been touched by that love, saved by that love, protected by that love. And that love, like no other love, he's a man that God raised from us, brothers and sisters. He's a man who has been a long sufferer for over 64 years. He has endured the insults from us. The insults of the enemy don't hurt the man of God. Did you hear what I said? You know what that is. But when you're working for your own, and your own betray you, your own backstab you, your own murmur against you, your own speak evil of you, your own begin to plot and plan your demise and death, that is a bitter cup. But through it all, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, transparent, his heart open for all to see. My God. We have a very beautiful man. So this imbalance that is referred to as insanity, look at our beloved teacher. I know you wanted to hear about the man who wanted to be king. Exactly. See, that was the best answer. You spend too much time worshiping the king instead of worshiping God. You spend more time transferring your energy to Pharaoh instead of your energy and your thoughts to God. You talk more about what Trump is going to do, and you don't talk enough about what God is going to do. Talk to me. You talk about, did you hear what Trump said? But did you hear what God said? You talk about what Trump tweeted. What did God tweet? You talk about how you're going to organize for the next election. Let me tell you something. If you go down that road again, this time you don't deserve to be awakened from your nightmare. You don't put your hope in a corrupt political system and think that by replacing one devil with another devil is going to give you peace, going to give you justice. You're insane, respectfully speaking. Let me show you what makes us insane. Minister, please talk about that man that want to be king. Look at this. Insanity. See the word in there? Sanity and sanitary deals with cleanliness. Man, my teacher's the best teacher. Boy, you got the tipping of the mind becoming imbalanced because of the deprivation of justice. But now you got something else that's dealing with what are the sanitary conditions of your mind. Ooh. And that which is unclean is unsanitary. Unsanitary leads to disease. And disease, unsanitary, unclean is the same as insane. Brother Farrakhan, are you saying that every insane person is unclean? Every person that is insane is possessed of an unclean spirit. And when your mind is imbalanced, you do things that are unclean. You will defecate on yourself. You will urinate on yourself. You will do unsocial things, unclean things. You don't think you are doing anything wrong because in your own mind you're all right. Because you have lost the standard by which decency and sanity and cleanliness is measured. Whenever God gives you a messenger or a prophet, he raises for you a standard by which you measure your life according to the standard. And the standard lets you know how close or how far off you are. Your distance from the standard. Y'all with me? See, I want to expose for you more the hatred of the unclean, unsanitary, insane rulers for Brother Farrakhan. Because if he affects your thinking, cleans up your thinking, cleans up your way of life, removes from us all of the unclean and foul spirit of the enemy, then the enemy loses control of that human being and that people. An unclean mind produces an unclean environment. Look at our neighborhoods. It's the reflection of what? Unclean, unsanitary thoughts. So the environment is a reflection of the thinking of the people in that space. Y'all all right? Cleanliness is not next to godliness. Cleanliness is godliness. Got that? Oh, the word of God is so good. So, a Muslim could not be a terrorist because no Muslim is so hopeless that he denies Allah's sufficiency that he has to kill and maim and brutalize innocent people to make a sad, silly point. Now, what we're looking at is that in the Bible, God says, I will give you your own blood to drink, and you will be drunk with your own blood as with sweet wine. America has become a boiling cauldron of gross dissatisfaction. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us 30% of this. If there's 30% dissatisfaction, that would lead to a change. 100% dissatisfaction leads to a universal change. So there's 100% dissatisfaction on our planet today that brings about a 100% change. The whole system is about to collapse. Did you hear what I said? The whole damn thing is about to collapse. There's no way to fix this. Excuse my Spanish. That was Brother Abel's. Let a word out right now. This is beyond fixing. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that justice is a law that distinguishes between right and wrong. It goes to sleep with you, it wakes up with you, whether you're knowledgeable of that law or not. It is alive and working either with you, for you, or against you, regardless to what the courts do. The law of justice, the balance that God set up in the universe, you and I cannot escape it. The fool thinks in his heart, I have gotten away with my evil. What a fool you are indeed. God says in the Bible, whatsoever is done in the dark, I'm going to bring it forth into the light. And the Holy Quran says, though it be the weight of an atom hidden in a rock, and the rock buried in the earth, yet I will bring it forth. That's why there's no hiding anymore. There's no corner for us to do our dirtiness in anymore. It's all exposed in this day and hour of God's presence. So, if we look at our present president, while all these things are happening, we have this president that wants to be king. Minister said 2 weeks ago right here from Mosque Mariam, quote, that if we look at our president, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes that there's no such word in the Bible as president. All the rulers in the Bible are kings and rulers, not presidents. Though the president is in the scripture not as a president. Now President Trump, the minister says, has a little fever because he wants to be a king. Since he has a feeling that he's greater than a president, he does not desire to be bound by that which the founding fathers set up to be a balance for the power of the executive branch of government. So he's interfering with those institutions, not in a mean-spirited way. He just feels that he can do better if he was the lawmaker, if he were the judge. Because if the judge doesn't judge according to the way he sees it, he'll take the judge on. If the attorney general doesn't do what Trump thinks the head law officer in the country should do, he'll take on the attorney general. So the country right now is in great confusion because the institutions of government that were set up by the founding fathers are now being challenged by a president who really wants to operate as a king. Some of us want to be dictators. We don't want any reign on our power. We would rather be the one to make all the decisions and force them on others who are under our authority. This goes right into the home. So that means some of us want to be kings. So any structure that is set up to bridle the power of any office, if that office does not agree with us, there's a spirit to destroy it. So President Trump is literally destroying the republic that the founding fathers wanted to guide and gird it against what they suffered in Europe from kings. This president, the minister said, has seen As the fake news group like to call him, he's a man that is unbridled. So they say that Trump, he's unpresidential. So clashing is going on among those who are responsible for government, and this is happening in all organizations. The country is polarized. America is divided, and a house divided against itself, it cannot stand. The world is no longer afraid of America, but our president wants the world to fear him. In a National Review posted an article, thank you for sending that to me, by Charles C. Cook. It's entitled, "Our Presidents Are Beginning to Act Like Kings." Now, this was written over 5 years or 4 years ago. And he writes that today it is evident that promises of apolitical rulemaking have gone unrealized, and the delegation of legislative authority is not the exception, but the rule. Worse still, the dream of an impartial, virtuoso-driven bureaucracy has been cast aside in favor, lost my word. In favor of monarchism. In 2015, the bureaucracy does not exist as a hive of expertise held aside from the hurly-burly of partisanship and ideology. But he goes on to cite that from the Reagan administration onwards, American presidents have come to use their control of federal agencies as kings once used their crowns. And if a given commander-in-chief doesn't like the substance of a given law, he claims that it is vague and issues a new rule to fix it. If his signature legislative achievement isn't working so well, he suspends or dispenses with its unpopular or problematic provisions until the politics improve, regardless of whether the statute accords him such discretion. If the other branches will not play ball, he fulfills their role for them. So what is interesting is, from the Reagan administration, and I will put a pin in this, he said American presidents have come to use their control of federal agencies as kings once used their crowns. Now, I want you to pay attention to these last words. With the help of Allah, I'll get them out. It was during the Reagan administration that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had his vision-like experience, where he was told and instructed by Allah through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the president had met with his Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war. If in the Bible you read of kings, right, and rulers, not presidents, but the kings and the rulers were visited by the messengers of God. I want you to follow this. In that vision-like experience, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad revealed to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and then instructed him to hold a press conference in Washington, D.C. And I want you to make known their plans and tell them you got it from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel. Now, your Bible tells you, you can tell you have a prophet or a messenger among you because he receives dreams and visions from God. Not just dreams of inspiration, but these are direct communications of God to his man. And that's why Brother Tyreek came before us today to cite the weather from the last time the minister spoke. Because when you have a man of God among you, if what comes out of his mouth doesn't come to pass, you don't have to pay him no mind. That man spoke presumptuously. That man spoke in vain. But if what comes out of his mouth comes to pass, you know that that man has spoken the truth and it's from God himself. And that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So from the Reagan administration to Trump, Brother Farrakhan has spoken to the presidents of the United States of America. No preacher, no black leader has ever taken the word of God, the warning of God, to the wicked pharaohs and rulers of today. Talk to me. No prophet or messenger compromised the message that God put on them to deliver. No prophet or messenger of God ever went to the enemies of God's people seeking a solution to make them to be more accommodated in the house of the enemy. Talk to me. Moses was clear. Let my people go. Moses was clear. It's about separation. Jesus was clear. Be ye separate. All the prophets are clear. Our black leaders, they could not represent the will of God. Did you hear what I said? Because they had not met with God. So how can you take a message from God to the enemy of God if you were not acquainted with him, met with him, directed from him? So Farrakhan does not speak as one who doesn't have a relationship with God. He does not speak like a man that doesn't have a relationship with Christ. That's why he makes Christ so real in the church, with Jesus' name on it. Because he's not talking out of belief. He's talking out of his up-close personal knowledge of God. And then he speaks with that strength. The prophets of God, they always are introducing the God by a name that the people knew not. The prophet of God is not going to come in the religion of the enemy. Show me one. The prophet of God is not a graduate from the institutions of learning and from the theological and seminary schools of the enemy. Talk to me. You're looking for your salvation from the wrong place. The very house that sold you as slaves, brought you into captivity, is the same house that's going to free you. Stop. Stop the insanity. I got to close. But when the Bible, in the 66th book, I'm closing, I think. No, I got to close. I want you to retain it all. Our attention span is not as great as it used to be because we're eating the wrong food. So we only remember a paragraph or a sentence and never get it right. But I got to close. When it gets to the Bible, at the book of Revelations, no more mention of kings and rulers. It's beasts. It's a beast. What you have in power is a beast. Ooh, that's rough, brother minister. Well, talk to the prophets. I didn't write it. See, a beast is a contemptible person. Something formidably difficult to control or deal with. A beast is not gentle. A beast behaves in a crude manner, in a horrible way. A beast does not follow what is right. A beast exercises its might. Did you hear what I said? So John the Revelator is talking about a beast in power that was making everyone to worship him, every language, every kindred, and every people to worship the image of the beast. Count the number of a man, or count the number of a beast, for it is the number of, and his number is 666. See, when you get to the end, what you're going to see is the full manifestation of the man of sin. At the end of his 6,000-year rule, you're going to see a dragon now. You're going to see a beast that has been growing all along in his 6,000-year period of rule. So what you're confronting is Satan himself. What you are looking at in Brother Farrakhan is a man made by God to deal with Satan, that Satan cannot bother. Satan cannot turn. Satan cannot bend the knee of Farrakhan. That's why I choose to follow my brother. He's a man made from a man, made from a son of man. Listen. Ancient Babylon had a king, Nebuchadnezzar, that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan pointed out to us in his speech from here, the book of Daniel. And this king of Babylon, who had a terrific dream one day, and there was nobody to interpret the dream. And he had this dream of a statue. And the statue had a head of gold, breastplates of silver, the thighs covered in bronze, the legs were of iron mixed with clay, and the feet or the toes also of clay and iron. And then in the dream, a stone was hewed out of the mountain with no hands. And this stone or rock that was hewed out of the mountain, it struck the image of silver and gold and bronze, but it struck it at its feet, and it broke the image of silver and gold and bronze into pieces. Then Daniel gave the interpretation to the king, and he told him about the head of gold. See, the statue was top heavy. The iron with clay represented that his kingdom was divided. It was partly strong and partly brittle. And it represented also a mixture of people. Y'all with me? Give me the mic, I'll walk it off. The people of iron are the Caucasian people. It represents the poor of the nation, and we have mixed in with the Caucasian people. Is that right? The wealthy that are at top, they have taken advantage of the poor white, the poor black, the poor brown, and the poor red. But the house now is divided. The iron and the clay. You're the people of the clay, the natural people of the earth. And both the native people, the original people of our planet, we're at the very bottom. But we hold the structure of white supremacy. We've built up the wealth that is at the top. Y'all with me? But a rock was hewed out of the mountain. The mountain represents a powerful nation. And God intervenes in that nation. And he raises a man. See, not by human hands. No one can claim his man. He's not shaped by the hands of teachers of this world's order. He's not fashioned by the theology and the ideology and the philosophy that undergirds this world. He's a man that God has drawn out of a people. And God shapes and molds that man, breathes into that man of his spirit. And he comes out of that powerful nation, and he takes the truth of God and he strikes the head of the people of clay and the people of iron. And in striking the people with truth, then it starts breaking the image of gold and silver and bronze. That's the mass poor of the world, the mass poor of America. And with the teachings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, there's a rumbling that's taking place at the bottom. There is the masses of the people are being stirred up. The masses of the people are unsettled. There's the tossing and the roaring of the seas. And men's hearts are trembling. Those are the ones in power, for fear of what they see coming. Because now there is a mass awakening of the people. And then this stone that struck the feet of iron mixed with clay, and those legs, after it broke up that statue. And the Bible says, and Daniel breaks it down, and then it was so broken into pieces, it was made like the shaft of the summer. And there was no more trace of it. Totally vanished. But that one rock that rolled out of the mountain into the earth, broke the statue, then it built itself up into a great mass, and it became a great mountain in the earth. It's talking about a new government that begins with the man of God. And it will be a government that will ensure the people that they will receive and have freedom, justice, equality. It's called the kingdom of heaven on earth. God came, brothers. God came, sisters. He raised Elijah Muhammad out of a rich and powerful nation. God came. He gave to Elijah Muhammad a great helper. And they are one. And they are striking the minds of the black, the brown. White people are listening to Farrakhan. White folks like what Brother Farrakhan is saying. This is our day. Babylon the Great has fallen, has fallen. She's become a hole for every foul spirit and a cage for every filthy bird. But the call of God for you, me, us, come out of her, my people. Be not partakers of her sins and her plagues. God is here to save us. God is here to rescue us. God is here to make us a good people again, a great people again, a wealthy, wise people. You'll have all of the gold that you need. You'll be so rich, but you will not do what the rich of this world have done. And can I tell you something? You know why we don't have anything now? Don't take this in the wrong way. We're not ready yet. You know, if you get some money right now, you will abandon the struggle. You ain't thinking about helping your people. You'll help yourself. Go buy you a nice place in the islands and ride off into the sunset. We're not clean enough here. See, you remember the vows for better or for worse, for richer or for poor? See, both of those are trials. You've learned how to live through the trial of being poor. But boy, when wealth comes, make a man feel like he can go back in the garden, pick him some more flowers. Am I lying? You know we ain't ready for no wealth because we too unsanitary and unclean up here. Oh man, we wouldn't know how to act. We got to clean up or we're out of luck with the God and his Messiah. We got to clean up our thoughts. We got to measure up to that standard. And God assures us and promises us, seek ye the kingdom of God and all its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Come on, black man and woman, let's rise to the occasion and be the people of God as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. That means God is the greatest. Oh Lord, I hope I didn't wear you out. I hope you got something out of today's message. If I said anything or made a mistake, I pray that Allah will forgive me if I made any mistake or error in the delivery of his message and truth to his people. How many of you are visiting us today for your first time? Can we recognize you by a show of hands? My brothers, my sisters, welcome. We are honored to have you as our guests. How many of you believe that what you heard this morning to be the truth? Good for our people, good for suffering black, brown, yellow, and even white on our planet.
How many of you accept this truth? And let's try. Okay, just stand up where you are. All of you that raised your hand, my sisters, my brothers, you accept this truth and want to begin the steps to improving your life and helping us to organize to improve the conditions of our community. Come on up if you want to be a part of your Nation of Islam, and let's get busy and do the things that need to be done to change and improve the conditions of our people in our community. Come on, brother, you can come right out. Come on, you can come.
All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, put our hands together.
I should say, let me shake your hand and welcome you on behalf of your brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, at this time, if you would like to come down the center aisle and join your Nation of Islam, learn more about what it is to be a Muslim, we encourage you. Fight that scared man that's on the inside of each one of us. Fight that scared woman that's on the inside of some of us. Come on down this center aisle and accept and become a part of your nation. Brothers and sisters, we can show them more love than that. Let's show them our encouragement and support for making one of the most important decisions in their lives. All praise is due to Allah. They could have been doing anything else on this Sunday morning, but they're here with us at the National Center of the Nation of Islam, joining their family. We could do better than that, brothers and sisters. Let's show them some love. Show them some support. Encourage them. It's not easy making this decision and changing your lives for the better. It's easy to be a Negro in Satan's world. It's hard being a God. All praise is due to Allah. We got young brothers, middle-aged brothers, older brothers. We want you all. This is your home. This is your place. There's still time. If you're in these seats and you're doubting yourself and you're not sure of whether or not this is the place for you, you still got time to come on down the middle aisle. We would love to have you. We would love to share our brotherhood and our sisterhood with each and every one of you. All praise is due to Allah. Come on, brothers and sisters, don't get tired. God didn't get tired with us, so we can show our love and not get tired with our beautiful brothers accepting their own and becoming themselves. All praise is due to Allah. Beautiful black men, beautiful black gods, starting the process and the journey to becoming one with Allah, finding meaning, finding purpose. All praise is due to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful. Just a few more brothers and sisters. Let's give our love. Show them that they're at home. This is a family reunion this morning. All praise is due to Allah. Beautiful black men. All praise is due to Allah. Yes, sir. One more time for our minister here at Mosque Mariam, student minister Ishmael Muhammad with a beautiful lecture. All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, we're almost done with today's program. We ask that at this time the Ministry of Finance comes down the center aisle. This is the portion of our program dedicated to charity, or what we call zakat in Islam. And whatever Allah has blessed you to give, whether it was the smallest of things or to the largest of things, He asks that you give at least 10% back into His cause. We spend frivolous money and a lot of our cash on silly things that make no benefit or improvement for ourselves or our community. But the Nation of Islam, we're committed to the work. We're dedicated to the work of transforming human lives. So we ask that you give whatever Allah puts on your heart to give in the cause to help us do this great work at a much faster rate of speed. There is no mystery, guys. We know that to get things done, you got to pay bills. So we encourage you all to do that. And while these are going around and you're supporting your Nation of Islam, you can also support your Nation of Islam by keeping our black dollar in our community. They say that on an average, once we get paid, which is usually on a Friday, that within 6 hours, the dollar is outside of our community. We've paid some other nationality, some other ethnicity, somebody, but it's not us. So we encourage you, though, throughout the week, find a place to eat that's owned by us. Find a place to buy your clothing or your apparel or your shoes that is owned by us. And the more that we keep circulating our dollar in our black community, the faster we will see progress and see a change taking place in our community and with our people. Just a few more moments as the receptacles go around. We have a few announcements. We also encourage those that are watching via the webcast. There's a button on your screen that you can click, says donate now. So don't feel like just because you're not here with us, you can't support. You can pull out that debit card, that credit card, that gift card, and give to the cause of Islam as well. Brothers and sisters, we also encourage you that throughout the week we have a few meetings. Whether you're in Chicago or watching from across the country, we have mosques and study groups throughout all of the various cities throughout our country. So we encourage you that every Monday at 7:30 p.m., all of our brothers, we ask that you come and kick it with your brothers. Share some brotherhood. Let us teach and dialogue as brothers. Talk about how we could better our community and the condition of ourselves. That is every single Monday at 7:30 p.m. In the various cities across the country. Our sisters, your class is on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. We encourage you to come on out and learn what it is to be a righteous woman of God, how we can help in the cause and fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. So every single Saturday at 9 a.m., you should be found somewhere at your mosque or study group learning more and becoming one with your family. It's not an obligation. You definitely have time to learn before you commit, but we encourage you to just come on out. And throughout the week, we have 2 other meetings on Wednesdays and Fridays. They're both at 7:30 p.m. You can have a lecture on Wednesday, and also on Fridays, you have what is called our study groups, and the basis of that study is self-improvement, the basis of community development. With that being said, brothers and sisters, we have a few local announcements once we close out in prayer. I'm sorry, one more national announcement. We encourage all of you. Give me 1 second. We encourage all of you all to support. For those who don't know, the Nation of Islam, we have our own school system called Muhammad University of Islam. It's been around for 30 years now. That's worth a round of applause in and of itself to be redefining what education truly is. But on Sunday, September 8, 2019, we have an evening of celebration where we'll be celebrating the 30 years. It will be conducted in Chicago at the South Shore Cultural Center. That's at 7059 South Shore Drive in Chicago, Illinois. It starts at 7 p.m. Again, that's Sunday, September 8th. And they're asking for a $100 tax-deductible donation. You can purchase tickets at Eventbrite, and we just got wind that our address will be delivered by our student minister from Indianapolis, student minister Nuri Muhammad. He'll be here on that day as well. So we encourage you all, come out, support, sell tickets, tell your friends, family about it. And the more that we can finance our own education, the more freedom we'll have to bring in a brand new world, because we can't bring in a brand new world with old ideas. With that being said, brothers and sisters, please stand at this time and hold your places after prayer for a few local announcements. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. Thee alone do we worship, and thine aid do we seek. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, and not the path of those whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for tuning in for those on the webcast.
Are you tired of corporate-controlled media? Then it's time to subscribe to a new way of gaining access to independent and timely news coverage. Introducing the Final Call Digital Edition. The Final Call Digital Edition is on the cutting edge of print news delivery. The Final Call Digital Edition carries in-depth reporting and thought-provoking analysis of both national and international news. Get out of the old and get into the new. Subscribe to Final Call Digital Edition at digital.finalcall.com.